Yo, what's up, my literature babies? This is another episode from our channel, Procrastination Nation Station. So, this is me, Jazzy Jazz, on the mic right now. I got Danny Waff by my right and C Bass on my left. I know we haven't been uploading a lot lately, but we're here, we're active, we're gonna send you some more info on the literature. We're trying to get this video up to 10,000 likes, so if you like it, give us a like, and if you don't like it, don't do anything. Drop a comment down below, let us know what you think. If you want anything else, maybe some other literature that we haven't covered. But this is episode 5 of Nigerian literature that we're going to be throwing your way. Today we're going to be talking specifically about the thing around your neck. Let's start off with the dramatic arc. So on the exposition right here, you see the exposition? That's the exposition. In the exposition, we're presented with who, what, where, when, and why. Akuna is the main character of the story. She is the who. What happens with Akuna in this story is her leaving her life in Nigeria and traveling to America. Where specifically in America does this happen? It happens in Maine and then in Connecticut. This takes place in present day. And she goes because the why is because of opportunity. So the rising action of this story is broken up into 3 different stages. It's broken up into the beginning where she comes to America and there's life with her uncle. After that is followed with her life alone. Last part of the rising action is life with her boyfriend. And a theme common throughout all of this, the theme of diaspora. So this theme can be seen in each stage of the story. The climax of the story is Akuna's father dying, spoiler alert. That is when she is thrown into the falling action of the story, which consists mostly of her just having a realization of a lot of different things. And those different things can be classified as her realizing that the American dream is false, also feeling that she is disconnected from her family, and last but not least, her realizing that she will never be happy in the United States. The denouement of this story is her return to Nigeria. So that right there is a summary of the story. And with this, we're just going to analyze this a little bit more and discuss the themes and what each event in the story signifies in relation to the themes. Alrighty, now that I'm done with that quick little sum-sum, I'm gonna pass the mic over to Miss Danny Waff and Jesus Quiroz. Take it away, guys, with your discussion and analysis.
We're going to be discussing specifically the theme of diaspora and the thing around your neck. There are some examples of this theme when she has her life with her uncle. And we found a quote that says, "The trick was to understand America, to know that America was give and take. You gave a lot, but you gained a lot too. If you let him, he would do many things for you." Because diaspora means moving from your homeland to a different place, she is trying to fit in. She's trying to adapt to a new culture. She's trying to adapt so much that she begins adapting even the bad habits.
In the United States, it's more like of a you have to give something in order to get something. And in this case, like, how much is she really willing to do in order to succeed? And if she really does sleep with him, she will end up getting more things, but at the cost of her own self-respect.
And for her life alone, we found the quote of white people who liked Africa too much, and those who liked Africa too little were the same, condescending.
Yeah, so for this, it would be like people put up a facade that they actually care about you just because you have some culture that looks aesthetically attractive to them. And it's a mutual misunderstanding between both cultures, both from Akuna and those in the restaurant.
Yeah, so it's a mutual misunderstanding between both cultures, both from her coming from Nigeria to the United States and not understanding why Americans think the way that they do and why they stereotype the way that they do. And the ignorance that white people have when they do accept someone who comes from a different country and they are too nice. This is not necessarily that white people are trying to be rude by liking Africa too much, quote unquote, because you cannot like Africa too much.
It's saying, like, you shouldn't put a stereotype to a specific culture, but I mean, she herself has done that own stereotype towards America, and in turn, America has put a stereotype on her.
Yeah, like the stereotype that Akuna's family puts on like guns and cars and having a lot of money once she gets there is like one of the misinterpretations that her family has of the United States. And then that leads into her life with her boyfriend. And the quote reads, "You knew by people's reactions that you two were abnormal. The way the nasty ones were too nasty and the nice ones too nice." And that means that people exaggerate their feelings too much, and unconventionality of being with a white man, they make it seem like it's some kind of elite system where if you're with a white man, you suddenly have much more privileges than you would if you were with your own, like dating within your own race. But at the same time, that comes at the cost of you having to deal with other people thinking that you yourself don't want to be part of your own culture.
Right, and the diaspora also comes in as if she hadn't come to the United States, if she hadn't migrated, then she wouldn't have to deal with this unconventionality of having a white boyfriend, because she would be with a Nigerian and she wouldn't be looked at weird. So the fact that she moved to the United States caused for her to have a white boyfriend, which gave her the opportunity to experience an abnormal relationship.
Or unconventional relationship.
Unconventional relationship, exactly. After her father's death, she realizes how the diaspora has affected her life and why she has to leave the United States. So we see that with her realizing how the American dream is false, she's disconnected from her family, and there's an unachievable happiness.
And well, for that, like they had used some of the money you sent to give him a good funeral. They killed a goat for the guests and buried him in a good coffin. And that right there, like already saying that like some of the money that Akuna was sending to her family, that was actually very little for her, but so much for her family. It makes it seem like she's much more successful than she really is.
Which is her being a little disillusioned by the United States. So she thought she was going to be so successful, and to her parents she has been, but she herself realized that she was kind of lied to in this whole false American dream. And that's like just the concept of being disillusioned.
Right, and she also disconnected herself from her family, and we see it in the example of you curled up in bed, pressed your knees to your chest, and tried to remember what you had been doing when your father died, what you had been doing for all the months when he was already dead. In the story, they mentioned that her father had died, and she didn't find out until after 5 months. So in that time, she was just living a routine. She didn't realize that she had completely isolated herself from her family by trying to be successful in the United States.
It could also be related to like the fast-paced culture of the United States and the more mellow culture that's in Lagos. When she moves to the United States, there's more of a shock.
The difference between the fast-paced life that she lived in the United States and the more mellow-paced life that she lived in Lagos, it showed her how much she craved her own culture once again, in her own country, and her own pace. Because in the United States, she was being more successful than she would have been in Lagos, but she was not fully living her life. Mm-hmm. She was not fully experiencing everything every second. She was just trying to survive. She was not living.
And for the third one, you see that she has unachievable happiness. And the quote says, "He asked if you would come back, and you reminded him that you had a green card and you would lose it if you did not come back in 1 year. He said you knew what he meant. Would you come back? Come back." So inside of that would mean that she doesn't actually feel happy in the United States, like at all. Nothing would ever make her want to come back to this place where she didn't feel whole. She didn't feel like she was actually achieving anything farther than more money in her bank account.
Even though she did not feel happy in the United States, she's basically being forced to come back to the United States because her family sees her as a successful woman, or, she's living a life full of distress in the United States, but she is gonna come back and she's going to keep earning money for her family and being successful for her family. We see that her boyfriend says, well, are you really gonna come back? And it's, are you gonna come back and be yourself, or are you just gonna come back and keep working and keep living in a routine?
Alrighty, so now it's time for us to take all of the information that we've discussed and analyzed and put it into a outline that we can later turn into a draft. We took all of these specific elements of diaspora, and we're going to use them in our essay and use these quotes to explain these specific elements of diaspora. So one thing that you do need to do when you're doing a longer essay is you need to write a summary of the story, just to kind of give a little bit of background information to explain to your reader what you're going to be talking about. So the way that I usually like to do it, and I think that it's a very easy way and it's simple to understand, is just go chronologically. We do have a summary. This is the draft that we created. So right here, everything that is blue is summary. And then with that, we come back to these quotes, and these quotes are in chronological order. Each one of these quotes can be found in a different stage of the story. So you can just go through these quotes, dedicate one quote to a paragraph. The first element we had of diaspora was adaptation. So the first paragraph can be about adaptation, specifically in this quote. And right here you can see that here is the same quote from right here. The trick was to understand America, blah, blah, blah. And it's right here in green. Here is an analysis of that, specifically about adaptation. So only emphasizing the part of this quote that has to do with adaptation, which is an element within diaspora. So this next paragraph is also one of the quotes that we got when we did our analysis, and it's about misunderstanding one's culture. So it's the same deal of having the quote right here, and then all of this part is going to be analysis. And it's just going to happen the same way throughout the rest of the essay. Here in our outline, we have the quotes, and then we have just the element that we're going to be discussing. And we have 3 quotes that are going to be explained in each paragraph. And then these 3 quotes can be summarized. You don't have to put the whole quote, but you can kind of just summarize what is said in the quote. Use that as more of a conclusion, would be 1, 2, and 3. Paragraphs 1, 2, and 3. It's the first, second, and third quote, like I said. And then the fourth paragraph is kind of to use these 3 quotes, summarize them, and say that those are direct effects of diaspora, or a way to sum up what you've been talking about. So this was kind of the structure. Paragraphs 1, 2, and 3, you don't have to go super into detail with each one of them, but it's just a way to say like all of these different things happened in the story because of the diaspora that the main character was feeling. And that's what we say right here. Relate it to the element, so distress, isolation, or disillusionment, and analyze the relationship to the main character in the story. If you want to check out the essay, which would be very helpful, we can leave a link to it in the description. And that is all. Thanks.